everyone. Welcome to our Where Ace Takes You event. We're really excited to have you join tonight. And this is our third event in the series, and we'll have a specific focus on athletics and coaching. So we're just really excited to see some familiar and some new faces on our screen tonight. And we also have a couple of recent ACE graduates, as well as a current ACE ambassador, who are going to share their experiences. So it'll probably be helpful just to keep your screen in speaker view during our panel discussion, and then we'll transition towards the end for a little bit of a Q&A, and my teammate Kevin will just kind of share the best way to ask your questions to the group. So with that, I'll first just invite our panelists to share a bit about themselves. For our ACE graduates, if you just want to share a little bit about where you went to undergrad, what you studied, where you served through ACE, and maybe a bit of what you're doing now. And then Jimmy, if you want to kind of talk a little bit about where you are currently and what your ambassador role just has looked like this past year. Great. So I think it's helpful sometimes if I set the order. So Alexa, would you mind starting? And then we could go to Mitch, Erin, and then Jimmy.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. Welcome. I am a graduate of ACE 22, and I was also a graduate of Notre Dame in 2014. I was on the pre-med track. I wanted to be a doctor before I got into ACE. So I have a bachelor's in science. So I taught science when I was in ACE. I'm originally from Montana, from Billings, Montana, but I've lived in Texas, in Denver, and now I'm back in Dallas, Texas right now.
Hey everyone, thanks for having me. My name's Mitch Kaufman. I was a graduate from the University of Dayton, where I played some baseball. Graduated in 2017. I was a sport management major, and then I was a part of ACE 24. I actually have to think about it. Kenna, was it ACE 24 or ACE 23? Because I to this day, it's like I can't remember. It was 24, I think. Yeah, it was 24. So, but yeah, so I'm now currently serving as an academic coordinator at Gonzaga University. ACE was obviously a wonderful experience for me, and I'm excited to share some of my experience with you all.
Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm Erin Mcnalty. I'm a graduate of ACE 25, so I just finished ACE in the summer in 2020. I went to the Catholic University of America in Washington, D.C. I graduated from there in 2018, and I was an English major and a marketing and theology minor, and I also ran cross-country and track there as well. I'm from Northeast Ohio, but lived in DC and then for college. And then in ACE, I was in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. And I taught 6th through 8th grade at a rural school in rural Louisiana. And I taught ELA.
Is it me? Okay. Hi, everybody. Sorry about that. My name's Jimmy Watson. I'm originally from Chicago, Illinois. I'm currently a senior at Monmouth University in New Jersey. I'm on the men's lacrosse team there, and I am a English and history double major, and I am currently an ambassador for this coming summer's ACE program, ACE 28, and I don't know where I'm going. And yeah, so that's exciting. I'll hopefully find that out pretty soon.
Awesome. Well, thank you all for just sharing a little bit about yourselves. So to start off our conversation, I kind of want to just learn more about your path to ACE. So when you kind of reflect on what that process looked like for you, if there are particular experiences or communities or courses that you took that you feel like really motivated or impacted your decision to pursue ACE. And for many of you, I think there's probably a tie to athletics in some way, but I also would welcome you to share other opportunities or again, communities, experiences that come to mind. So maybe we'll just follow that same order, just to keep things simple. So Alexa, if you don't mind starting us off.
Yeah, so my path to ACE, I guess if I think about it, it started back when I was in high school and I taught swimming lessons and I loved teaching swimming lessons. I thought it was really fun. I was teaching 3 to 10-year-olds every summer, and I really enjoyed that. So I knew that about myself going to college. but I thought I wanted to be a doctor. So I was in the pre-med track. Um, I also did some volunteer work in South Bend, like reading at Elementary, which I think is not even existing anymore. Um, so I really enjoyed that. So I knew like I liked working with kids, I liked teaching them. But I thought I wanted to be a doctor, so I had my mind set on that. And then one of my cross country teammates convinced me to go to an ACE night with her. And so I went to one of those informational nights and left feeling like, wow, I might actually want to do this. Like I had no idea that I would want to be a teacher, but I feel excited about this. And so was thinking about it. I also started taking some education, schooling, and society as a minor at Notre Dame. I took some of those classes, and I had a class with Maria McKenna, which if any of you guys know her, you will not question why I was inspired to go into education. Her class was incredible. I learned a lot, found myself even more intrigued in the world of education. And so I started looking into ACE. Meanwhile, I still was not sure that I didn't want to go into healthcare. So I applied for an internship in public health, and I also applied to ACE. And so I was debating both of those for a while. And then it came time to make a decision, and I actually decided not to go with ACE the first time. So I went to do my public health internship in Ecuador for a year, and I had a really good conversation with John Stodd before, and he kind of said like, you know, he helped me through this discernment process, which I really appreciated, because he wasn't like, oh, we really want you to come to ACE, like you have to do this, it's not going to be there for you. He was supporting me in my own discernment. And so then when I came back from that, he was like, yeah, we're still here waiting for you if you want to come back. And so I put my application in again, got Brownsville, was really excited about going to Brownsville, Texas, and decided to do ACE.
Yeah, and I realized I totally forgot to say where I'm originally from and where I actually taught. So I'm originally from Bellefonte, Ohio, middle of nowhere. And I taught down in Corpus Christi, Texas, at St. Anthony's School, 4th and 5th grade. So far this evening's going about as smoothly as my first time stepping into a classroom. But honestly, with the ACE experience, I didn't even know about ACE until my 5th year of college. So I redshirted my freshman year. I had a 5th year to play at Dayton. And I actually wanted to work in college athletics, which is obviously where I am now. And I was applying to a bunch of schools and stuff, and not even getting any feedback from anyone, and had no idea what the heck was going to go on after my time at Dayton. And I remember that I was right in the middle of an application to UNC for some random job, and I got an email forwarded to me from my baseball coach, and that email came from none other than Mike Comunello, who's on this screen right now. And that was the very beginning of what turned out to be one heck of a relationship with Mike that he and I ended up building. So um, I always wanted to go to Notre Dame. I was one of those people that grew up a diehard Domer. I was like the subway Domer. My ACT score wasn't quite high enough to get in out of high school, but thank goodness ACE doesn't require ACT scores. And so when I saw that email from Mike that was forwarded to me by my coach, I immediately, like jumped on it, was like, oh my gosh, what is this program? And I did my research, I did my homework on it. I gave Mike a call fairly shortly after that. And we probably talked on the phone and Mike would vouch for this, probably upwards to an hour. The very first time we talked, I was in the locker room actually right after a practice and gave him a ring. And just the things we talked about the interest that he had in me and my experience at Dayton and everything really stood out to me. Obviously, it being a free program and a degree from Notre Dame, that sells itself as well. I do remember my 5th year, I was kind of going through a period where I was reconnecting with my faith. And there was a certain book, Seasons of Life, that was very, really transformative for me in my outlook and perspective on things. And so I knew that I wanted to take a step further with that transformation process. And I knew that I was leaving baseball behind me, and I was looking for a new identity and something that I could pride myself on, and something that I, could strive for, so to speak. And it was just really kind of like the perfect storm of all these events kind of, coming together. And I think it was that winter. I had the opportunity, since I was from Ohio, I had an opportunity to go visit campus. I tried to go to campus like once or twice a year, just because I love being on Notre Dame's campus. And I met up with Mike and some of the staff, and it just left me with this feeling of, oh my gosh, this is the real deal. Ace is no joke. These people are incredibly wholesome. They're just incredibly good people that were going to help me become a better person. My mother was also a school teacher, and so I kind of had education in the back of my mind growing up as well. So like I said, it was just all these different avenues, if you will, that were all kind of converging to this single point, and that was Ace. And everyone on this screen, I'm sure, would attest to it. But it's a really wonderful experience, and I'm glad that in a sense, I really didn't even take a leap of faith. It was kind of a no-brainer for me. So really awesome experience. But I'm pretty long-winded, so I'll digress, and I'll pass it over to Erin.
So I actually heard about ACE when I was in high school, so kind of like the opposite of that. When I was so like teaching was something that was in the back of my mind since I was little. My mom also was a teacher, and when I was like 8 or something for Christmas, my parents like, instead of getting me a gift, they like set up like a little like fake like school in my basement, in like a corner, and they had like they like drilled a chalkboard to the wall and like had a bulletin board and stuff, so I could like pretend to be a teacher down there when I was younger, and like teach my brother, whatever, because I always was bossing around. But so teaching was something that was like in my mind. And when I was in high school, I had some really great English teachers, and I remember like talking to them and being like, I think I want to like be a teacher. And they were like, oh yeah, like if you want it, like you should think about it, and there's like different paths to being a teacher. You don't have to go straight into that in undergrad. But I like thought about majoring in education for a while when I was like a junior in high school. And then I decided that I didn't want to major in education. I really wanted to pursue English, because that was like where I was really passionate, and I was like, I just want to get better at being a writer, and like I really love reading. So I think this is like what I want to do in college, and maybe I can perhaps like go into education after that. And I actually like found ACE through researching options to do that, and researching different education programs at different Catholic schools, like whether it was undergrad or after the fact. That was like something I had in my mind when I was a senior and I graduated high school. I was like, I'm going to go to college, and then after this, I'm going to do this program called ACE. And that was like what I had in my head. But then when I got to college, I, really like, I loved being at Catholic. I loved running. I like really liked my English classes, and I started thinking more about like doing marketing or PR, because I got into the marketing minor and started taking business classes. So I was starting to think about like that route when I was a freshman and a sophomore. And so ACE was kind of like my head, like sort of maybe like moving my head. But then as I got more involved on campus as an upperclassman, especially with service, which getting involved with service at Catholic, I really got involved with that through the cross country team. We would do service together, like as a team on specific like days of service that the school would hold, and we would do a lot of service like out in like the community in DC. That like really started my involvement in service at Catholic, and then I got more involved doing like social justice immersion trips, and being an orientation advisor on campus. So like just getting into more leadership roles, and I was a captain on the cross country team, so I became like in more of a mentorship role. And the more that I got involved in things like service and leadership on campus, the more like ACE really started coming back into my mind and like kind of calling to me. And I was like, I really, like service, and I really like this idea of like being present with people and just like serving them with my time and things like that, and just like my presence and being able to talk to people and listen to people and like being, there for people. And I actually met with ACE people on the ACE pastoral team. Mary Pickens specifically, she's not here anymore, but she's like amazing. And I met with her at Catholic a couple of times, and I was like, talking to her, asking her all my questions. And I like how Alexis said, like, she was really, like Alexis said, like, people in ACE are really supportive of your like discernment process. That's how I felt with Mary. Like, it was like she wanted the best for me and had my best interest in mind, but also the best interest of Catholic education in mind too. And like, it was like, we want you to do this program, but we also want you to do what's best for you. So I ended up applying to ACE and then 3 other programs in the UCCE like consortium. But ACE is the one that really stood out to me and the one I wanted to do the most because the Notre Dame degree, like, and being part of the Notre Dame community, like, that's something that I really was like, that would be amazing if I could have that and like be able to experience Notre Dame and be a part of that community. But also because of that whole thing of like just the people I met through like the recruiting process and through the application process. And even in my interview, like Bridget interviewed me and I just remember being like, this girl is so nice. And like, I just want to be a part of this program. I want to be around these people. And I knew that I would be supported if I did ACE and I would have people like in my corner, like really like rooting for me and rooting for Catholic schools. And I just like really fell in love with the people and the mission. So it was really not like a hard choice for me at all when they like called me and said that I was going to go to Plaquemine, Louisiana, that I had never heard of that word before. I was like, sure, like sign me up, like let's go. So yeah.
Yeah, I think for me, in terms of kind of coming to the decision to apply to ACE and start that process, it's kind of a combination of what Mitch and Erin said. Mitch said that he's been a lifelong Notre Dame fan. I would say I'm almost quite literally a lifelong Notre Dame fan. My parents dragged me to a football game when I was 2 weeks old. Not sure if that's really allowed. But so always been a huge Notre Dame fan. My parents went there. And as Erin kind of mentioned too, have wanted to be a teacher since high school. I also had a couple English teachers that were rock stars and got me excited. Like, hey, I'm doing these speeches in high school and I'm not getting nervous. Like, what can I do with this? And I think teaching kind of came up pretty early for me. And despite all the family connections to Notre Dame, I didn't know about ACE until around my sophomore year of college. My parents had a couple people who did ACE, and in talking to them and also having a former ACE graduate at my high school in the administrative office, kind of talking to them and realizing like Catholic education is an awesome thing. I've gone to Catholic school all my life, and knowing that I wanted to be a teacher now in college, kind of thought, wow, this ACE thing sounds really interesting. And to go along with the education side too, being a college athlete and being in a position where service is really important to me. I've interned twice now with Fellowship of Christian Athletes, which is a non-denominational Christian organization that wraps in both faith and athletics. And that was something that I really fell in love with. It's helped me immensely on my own faith journey. And I saw ACE also as something being very similar to that too. And the fact that I just loved FCA and it was awesome. And then also too, loving Notre Dame, loving the idea of becoming a teacher. Again, unlike the other people on this call, very early stages of all this. So call me back over the summer when I'm stressed out with school, and we'll see what happens. But yeah, just kind of a bunch of different things coming together, which is really cool. And I've said this to Bridget and Mike, and I think I've said it to you too, Kevin. I'm very much a planner. I'm very much a person of like, I want to figure this out. And I'm sure a lot of you being on this call are probably planners too. ACE is one of the only decisions I've ever made where it's like, there's so many different things, whether it be Fellowship of Christian Athletes or wanting to become a teacher or Notre Dame, that have just kind of all come together. And it was almost like, I don't even need a plan. Like, this is so molded in the direction of who I want to be as not only a teacher, but as a person too. That there was really no like big whiteboard for all you movie fans, beautiful mind type moment of like, holy cow, like let's plan this out. It was definitely, so to this point, obviously, has been one that doesn't really need a plan. It's just was a program that piqued my interest and kind of went down the rabbit hole, and here we are now.
Thank you all for sharing those various pathways. And it's kind of cool to hear, just hearing about ACE at different points, some early on, some a bit later, being able to, talk with members of our team, graduates, really feeling that draw to the people, the community. Even though you're kind of all coming at it in different ways, it's kind of nice to hear some of those overall connections. So I kind of want to switch gears a little bit. So for our graduates, if you can kind of think through some of these experiences that you mentioned, the communities that you're a part of, your time in athletics, and maybe how you were able to bring that to your school community. So thinking of course, the work that you were doing in your classroom, but if there are ways that you were able to get involved outside the classroom as well, perhaps like through coaching. And then for Jimmy, I know you kind of mentioned that haven't had the experience just yet, but obviously we'll have lots of people supporting you along the way. But when you kind of look ahead to starting ACE in the next couple months, like what are you really hoping for out of the experience? And um, maybe again thinking of some of those communities that you've been a part of, how could you see that translating into your classroom or in engaging students outside the classroom? So we can kind of follow that same order and whatever thoughts come to mind.
So I'd say the biggest thing that athletics taught me that helped me prepare for teaching was probably time management. And all of you guys probably understand that, like the hours that you spent at working out in the locker room, lifting, doing your runs or whatever sport you were doing took up a lot of time during the day. And so you would get back and have to deal with your classwork and late into the evening. You would also miss a bunch of classes for being at meets. And so I think it really taught me how to manage my time, which you really need to do as a teacher. It's a lot of work for sure. And there's always something to do, always a way that you feel like you could help your students more. And so it was really important for me that I already had that ability to manage my time and also take care of myself, because that's another really important part of teaching. And then I also think just being able to work well with others, and you get thrown into a team of people that you didn't really choose to be your friends, and then you become friends with them, you work together with them. And that's kind of how it feels at a school. Like countless faculty meetings you'll be in, and you're like, wow, these people are very different than me, have very different thoughts. Um, but you're a team and you work together and you learn how to do that. And so I think athletics really helped me with that as well. Um, Definitely. Also, my time as a captain for cross country and track was helpful. Just being a leader, getting to know people. Like even when I was a senior, and since I was a captain, really trying to be intentional about reaching out to some of the younger teammates. That prepared me for when I was going to be a teacher and having to get to know my students more personally as well. And then I coached like every sport at my school. So that was definitely another thing that I learned from just being involved in sports growing up in high school and then in college. I didn't never played soccer, never played basketball. Well, I played basketball once in middle school and made one basket for the wrong team. But yet I was the coach at my ACE school. So I think just having been coached a lot, knowing what it means to have a good coach and how to coach well was really important. And so it made me able to do that, even though I did not know what offsides was. I was not good at basketball. I was still able to coach soccer, cross country, basketball, any sport that we needed.
I would certainly attest to those same things that Lex just touched upon, but I think me deviating just a little bit, some of the values that were instilled in me my time at Dayton by my coach, he always asked us to be competitive, to be coachable, and to be fun to be around. And I think those were values that I tried to integrate into my classroom. As a teacher, you have that opportunity or that platform, so to speak. Especially with fourth and fifth graders, they like hang on every single word you say, and so it's easy to get them all fired up and to make learning fun and all that stuff. And so that was one thing that I really tried to emphasize as a teacher, and I think a lot of student athletes have those kind of values or have those abilities, right? Obviously competitive by nature, right? You don't get to where you are in college athletics without that. But also just being charismatic and personable individuals and being able to translate that into the classroom, I think, helps you to make learning fun for your students. And I just remember, I reflect back on all the fun times that I had with my students. Not always fun, but for the most part, just totally, joyful laughter, the crazy things we did. I similar to Lex, I also got to coach just about every sport, it seemed like, except baseball, because we didn't have baseball. I thought when I was going to go down to Texas, like, oh, sure, I'm definitely going to coach baseball. It's like the mecca of baseball down there. Robstown, Texas, or at least at the level I was, baseball was not an option for our students, unfortunately. But you know what was? Chess club. So I traded in the cleats for some bishops and some knights and some kings and some queens. And I am a horrible chess player, I learned, but just good enough to beat 9 and 10-year-olds. So that was nice, I guess. But I reflect back on like an instance where I told one of my students, hey, because they always thought they could beat me, and I never took it easy on them because we're competitive, right? You don't take it easy on 9 and 10-year-olds. And so one of my students who I had the pleasure of teaching for 2 years said, Mr. C, if I beat you, um, you know, you'll have to give me a free A in the next assignment that we have. And I said, okay, that's fair enough. If I beat you, I get to go pour water in a bunch of glasses and dump it on you. Right after class, he's still in his uniform and all that stuff. And so we shook on it. I taught him the value of a handshake. And obviously, I absolutely annihilated him. And I proceeded to fill up as many solo cups of water as I could, and dump it on him. And we just had actually during National Catholic Schools Week, I was able to zoom in with the group, and that was one of the stories that got brought up. And I just think it's stuff like that really sticks out. And maybe that translates to sports because of ice baths when you celebrate a victory or something like that. But there's things in sports that you've gotten to do, and I think that confidence that you have in yourself and your abilities, and just how that translates into the classroom. And in a sense, I know like being the center of attention has a negative connotation to it, but I think when it comes to teaching, it's kind of a positive thing when you understand how you can empower others and how you can influence others, and not taking that for granted. And so teaching was a really awesome experience, one that I haven't totally cast aside from my future. There's a possibility I might go back into it one day because it really was that transformative and that impactful, not just for myself, but hopefully for my students too. And I think that playing college athletics really prepared you for that experience with ACE and everything.
So to echo some of the things they said, I think that athletics definitely, taught me how to manage time, and that's something you really have to do as a teacher. But like that experience that I had of having to balance like practice, all my classes, a job, still getting good grades, like that learning how to compartmentalize and like make sure you're giving your full effort to all of those things, like that definitely is something that helps translate into teaching, because you have lesson planning, grading, extracurriculars, all of that. I also think with sports, like that like resilience that you get from sports, where like often in sports you're going to put in all of the work and you're going to prepare in all the ways that you can, but you're still going to fail sometimes. Like you're going to have a bad practice, or like I would do everything right but still have a bad meet, and you still have to like pick yourself back up and be like, okay, like I do have to like shake it off and like continue to contribute for the team. Like that happens like every day in teaching. There's so many times where things don't go the exact way that you the lesson doesn't go over the way you wanted, or there's an issue with the student discipline problem, or the copier like breaks and you can't like print anything, and like you have to just like pick yourself up and figure it out, and keep giving all that you can for your students and for your school. So I think that sports really teach you how to like handle those like situations and those moments when you don't live up to your own expectations or your coach's expectations or something, and you have to like try again and continue on for like the good of others and the good of the team. And I also think like running gave me a very strong work ethic, and just like the ability to just be dedicated and keep pushing and trying even when it's difficult. And I think that's something that just like obviously that helped me in teaching, but that just helped me in life. But I think why athletics and why my time in as a collegiate runner was like so influential to my journey as a teacher and my journey in ACE, was from my coach was just like one of the most amazing human beings that I've ever met. And he taught middle school for over 30 years in DC. And so he like really encouraged me, like when I was telling him, my senior year that this is like what I was thinking about doing, he really encouraged me to like go into education and go into that profession. And he just taught me a lot about like how to be a really good leader and how to be a really good mentor through his example. And he would tell my team, like, I'm not just like, this is like a direct quote. Like he would tell my team, like, I'm not just coaching you for running, I'm coaching you for life. Like I'm invested in you as a human being and in your success in all areas of your life, not just as a runner. And that's something that when I was in ACE and still today, like I still teach, like I tell this to my students, like I care about you and I want you to be successful in all areas of life, like in English class, but also like in who you are as a person and becoming the best version of yourself. Like, because I had a mentor that did that for me. And like, that's something that, I try to instill in them and like show them through my every action, whether that's through planning, through grading, through just like being with them. So that like mindset, I think, is like the biggest influence that athletics had on my teaching, even though all those other things like time management, resilience, work ethic are so important. Like just that, role model that I had of how to be a really good mentor and like how to really, inspire and care about other people, trying to do that in my own role as a teacher. I also did not coach during ACE. My school had lots of parent involvement with sports. So unfortunately, I did not get to coach during ACE. I'm an assistant coach for cross country now, and it's like the highlight of my day when I get to spend time with the girls on the team. But in ACE, I helped with like academic. It was like kind of like a National Honor Society / academic challenge kind of thing called Beta Club. So I helped with that. But I would talk about sports a lot with my middle schoolers. And I did one time, one of my 8th grade boys told me he had never met a woman who knew as much about sports as me. So I keep that as like a really high compliment in my heart to this day. So yeah, just like sharing like my love of sports. I'm not good at any other sports besides running, but sharing my appreciation for them and with my students, and just like talking about with them is like a way to bond. So
kind of flipping it a little bit, because I'm kind of going at it as like, this is what I'm preparing for. This is kind of my mindset going into this summer and then the next 2 years. I think the first thing that I've always kind of told myself in preparation for anything, whether it be a big game in high school, a college athletics game, I'll probably tell it to myself on Friday before we open up our season on Saturday. But I think living outside of your comfort zone is something that I'm kind of going to take and use throughout my ACE experience, because I think that I'm a firm believer, and I've said this before in some of our ACE meetings. You don't learn a lot when you're in your comfort zone, and I think one thing athletics has taught me is that in order to learn and excel, whether it be on the field, on the court, in the pool. I'm a terrible swimmer, but I know that's athletics as well. But I not being in your comfort zone is huge, and that's kind of something that I'm preparing for. Is I know, right now I'm not in my comfort zone because I have no idea where where I'm going. And Bridget, if you want to let me know. But that's obviously, I'm not living in my comfort zone right now, and that's okay because I'm learning a lot about myself and how I kind of deal with that anxiety of the unknown. And I think kind of to echo Erin a little bit too, one thing athletics has also told me, and don't email my coaching staff and tell them this because I know the meeting's been recorded, but it's okay to be wrong. It's okay to make a mistake. That as long as you learn from it. My dad always kind of told me that a mistake's only a mistake if you don't learn anything from it. If not, it's a learning experience, and that's something that I'm hoping to kind of bring into the classroom, bring onto the field. Whatever I end up coaching, if I end up coaching chess club or end up doing a National Honor Society thing, which I probably am not very equipped for the National Honor Society thing or chess, but it's okay to be wrong. It's okay to make mistakes because that's how you learn. And that's another way of kind of getting out of your comfort zone. And those two things, I think, too, are kind of the way I'm approaching it, because I know I sure as heck am going to be wrong a whole lot. But as long as I learn from it and fix it the next time, I think I'll be all right. So.
What we'd love for you all to share with the folks that are here tonight is just what kind of advice would you give to somebody who's discerning a path with ACE? Maybe one piece of advice, if you could each comment on that, and then feel free to chat your questions in there as Bridget's mentioning, and we can answer those later.
I think I'm still first. I think my advice would be talk to people who have done ACE, talk to the ACE staff. I think that was something that was really helpful for me when I was an undergrad. They were really supportive and helpful in my discernment process, and talking to the people who have done ACE and figuring out if that's something that you think would be a good fit for you. But also, the other part of my advice is just go for it. Like, it's scary. You don't know where you're going to be. You've never taught before. It's really scary when you get up there in front of the classroom for the first time, but it's worth it. And you'll end up falling in love with your students so quickly. And that in itself is the reason to do ACE. So I would say if you're thinking about it, you should do it.
I am going to be completely honest, Kevin. As you were saying that, I was reading something in the chat. So I'm assuming, can you say that one more time?
One piece of advice you'd share with people about who are discerning ACE, Mitch. One piece of advice.
One piece of advice. I think Jimmy hit the nail on the head. Step out of your comfort zone. ACE is going to be a program that is going to it's going to change you. It's going to be really hard in so many different ways. And we could go on and on and on about the challenges that ACE will present to you. But that's how you grow, and being open to that growth and being cool with it and accepting it. To this day, I mean, I've played sports. I've had some really awesome opportunities with careers and jobs and stuff like that. Awesome upbringing. I can truly say that ACE is the most transformative experience that I've ever had. And if you want that, if you don't shy away from that and you can accept that and you can deal with it and understand that it's not going to be all rainbows and butterflies the whole 2 years, but at the end of it, you'll look back and say, wow, I did that. And that was one heck of an experience. I think being open to that is really cool. And then, yes, talk to people in ACE. They are awesome. They will help you out so much. Call them, see them, Zoom them, whatever. They're here to help you. And it's not just lip service. They really do that. So.
Yeah, I feel like they had such great answers, and I'm just like about to echo all of it. But yeah, like absolutely get in touch with people who have done ACE, people like the people on this call who are part of the pastoral team. They're going to be able to like really help you on this discernment journey. And like I said when I was saying, you know, why I did ACE, like they're really passionate about making sure that like you make the decision that's like best for you. Like obviously they're hoping that you do ACE, but they want you to be a better person. They want you to like, you know, find your vocation, find your calling, like find what you're supposed to do. So like talk to them, like they are really, really helpful resources. I think also just like, you know, ask questions, learn more about ACE, really like challenge yourself to see like, is this role like something I want to do? But like both of them have said, like ACE really is just like the most incredible decision I've ever made in my life. Like I'm a totally different person than I was in 2018 when I first got to my first ACE summer. And I'm a totally different person, I think, for the better. This program has really just like changed my life. And I've made amazing friends. I've got to know amazing people. I've got to live in a part of the country I never would have lived before, and get to know people I never, you know, would have met. So I would say just like learn as much as you can. if you want to take a risk and like do something different, like do this program. I think also like just like really trust that you're gonna like make the choice that's like best for you, whether that's ACE, like whether that's something else. Like if you do all that research, if you learn, if you try to like pray about it, try to like consult people who are good, like people that you trust and give you advice. Like if you do all of that, you're gonna find like what's right for you, and like we hope that's ACE. But like just trust in your decision process and your discernment process.
Yeah, I definitely think talking to people is huge. It's really helped me, and I really like this question because I'm very close to where you guys are in your shoes. I think to echo the greatest advice I had when thinking about this, and still thinking about this as I'm going into this summer, is the best thing that I think, the best advice is, obviously, if you're on this call, if you're thinking about ACE, you believe in Catholic education. And I think there's one person who has all the answers. And I think talking to the big guy upstairs is probably going to tell you all you need to know. I think if you pray about it, if your heart's really in it, I really think that prayer is a huge thing. And I think if you talk to I always call him the big man upstairs, but if you talk to him, he's going to tell something in your life is going to tell you, hey, this is for me, this is not for me. And that incorporates talking to people, all of that. But I think that the biggest thing, that advice that I got, and the biggest thing that I've kind of followed throughout this whole process is, pray about it, because you'll find the right answer that way.
Great. I think that's a perfect note to end on. First, if you have your emojis ready to go, if you want to just throw up a confetti or clap for our amazing speakers, we're just so grateful for all of you sharing your insights and experiences. And thank you to all the students who joined tonight too, and for your questions. I know we couldn't get to all of them, but I'm grateful for the ones that were chatted to me, and we'll follow up tomorrow. So just appreciate being here, and we hope to see you at our event next week. It will have a specific focus on faith and ministry, and we'll again be joined by a couple of graduates and a current ACE intern. So hope you can be there. Kevin just chatted the link, but really, again, thanks for being here, and hope everyone has a great night.